I'm now going to tie a fly that represents a stone clinger nymph. So that could be anything from your March brown nymph to your large brook dun nymph. Anything in that kind of category. This nymph represents that that food source really well for the trout and the grayling in the rivers. It's a really buggy nymph, and I tend to fish this one as a point fly. So I tend to fish. It tends to be the heaviest fly on the cast, and therefore the point fly. In the vise, I've got a size 14 jig hook, but I've actually got a size 4mm tungsten bead. I tend to use pretty natural coloured beads, so plain gunmetal, something like that. But basically vary the size of the bead according to the hook, and it's largely up to you what colour bead you use. Thread is going to be a 14-0 Vivus in olive, but to be honest, olive, grey, dark brown, even black, anything like that will be totally fine. So let's catch the. You can at this stage put some lead wire. I'm not going to bother here. That traps that bead in place. I'm actually just going to do a slight dam of thread, which also tapers that body and thorax section, like so. So for the tail, and also for the head hackle, I'm actually going to utilize what is called a coq de leon, but a hen feather. So rather than the cockerel fibre we utilize for the tail on a lot of nymphs and stuff, which is this is actually the hen version. You get that really nice speckling through the feather. Now you could use just standard speckled hen as well. What you tend to find though is that the Coq de Leon version, you just tend to have a better distribution of that speckling. So if I just show you a single feather, which I'm going to use now. So you could use partridge and stuff as well, but you tend to find individual partridge feathers or fibres, sorry, can be quite brittle, where these are actually they stand up to being beaten around by the fish's teeth or whatever really well. So take a few fibres, probably 5 or 6 fibres, and that's going to form the tail. Just pinch and loop that into position, just like so. Take one turn underneath the tail, that just kicks that tail up and splays it, and then go over the rest just to dampen it down. So for the rib, I've got some UV ribbing quill, which is just this stuff. Sticks out really well, but also helps safeguard the body again from the teeth of the fish. Just take that down, and at this point we're going to dub the body. The body is going to be good old fox squirrel. Wouldn't go without this stuff, really wouldn't. I use it in so many of my river trout flies. So I'm going to pull off a generous amount of this stuff and try and get some underfur as well as the stiffer guard hairs. You really want a bit of a mixture just to help the dubbing. Now you want this fly to be really spiky and buggy, but even with that you still want some underfur to help with the dubbing. Just going to mix that up. So that's what you kind of end up with. It's really nice stuff. And you want a slight taper. So to begin with, you can use wax with fox squirrel. It can be quite a difficult thing to dub, but if you use some of the underfur at the same time, it does become easier to dub. Just take that in. If we need to add some, we can always add some more. Just like so. Okay, so just touching turns, just kind of give it even distribution up the body, like so. and just take this over that dubbing in even turns. Let me secure that off. You can pull that dubbing out. You can use a Velcro brush or just a dubbing needle just to pull that out nicely. This gives you a really buggy effect, as you can see. So for the hackle, we're using that hen coq de leon feather that we used for the tail. So we're just going to introduce that just behind the bead. Just trap that in well. And less is often more with these trout flies, so one maximum 2 turns will be sufficient. So just stroke those feathers out. You want them pointing back over the fly. So just 1 turn there, and just decide, is that enough? And actually, you know what? I'm quite happy with just the 1 turn there. This is quite a webby feather, so try and work your thread through it rather than trapping. When you've done that, stroke everything back and secure that feather down. Snip off the excess that you don't need and keep that for the next fly. So you can see really buggy profile. Just to finish the fly, what we utilise in the thorax is number 46 hen spectra dubbing, which is kind of a dark peacock. Pardon me. And that's going to be just a small ball of dubbing in that thorax section there, just to tidy things up. You don't need too much, just a little pinch, a bit more, like so. That's just going to sit in neatly behind that bead. Make sure when you're taking it around you're not trapping any hackle, so you can stroke them back, just take that in behind the bead, and that's the fly done. Whip finish behind the bead. Take that down and just draw that thread in, and that'll just drop in behind the bead. Snip it off, and that's it done. Easy as that. So at this point you can pick all of that dubbing out just to make it buggier again. That looks pretty good there. Pretty simple fly again, but one worth carrying in your box. Tight lines.